What's up, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw reactions for the week of December the 28th of 2015, the last Raw of the year. And we opened our show with, wait a minute, Tony Chimmel is on the show, which was announcing, so I don't know if they gave Lillian Garcia and Eden a week off, or if one of them had a week off and one of them was on that house show in Allentown, Pennsylvania, at the same exact time they were having Raw, which seems like a really dumb thing to do, but hey, I'm not running that business, what do I know? So a bunch of guys weren't on the show, and some of the girls, and whatever else. Anyway, who was on the show, to open our show, is Vincent Kennedy McMahon, once again coming out to cut a promo, saying that last week he had to have surgery on his jaw, or whatever, because he got, hit in the face by Reigns 2 weeks ago, and he was not there for the Slammies, which was last week. And that, of course, brings out Roman Reigns. They are in Brooklyn here, and the thing with that is that the crowd started chanting for Daniel Bryan. That's fair. That's fair. He's a guy that, you would hope would hopefully at some point be healthy enough to come back and work some more matches. And then the crowd starts to, Vince acknowledges that. He's like, shut up. But then the crowd starts to chant for CM Punk. And it's like, come on. That's not going to happen. Maybe in 5 years. But no time soon are you ever going to see CM Punk. He's getting ready for his first UFC match, supposedly soon. He's going to be in the game anyway, but just don't chant CM Punk. It's not going to help anybody. It just makes his ego bigger. He really doesn't give a shit. Anyway, this ends up with some nonsense where Reigns kind of pushes Vince a little, and Vince bumps like a fucking champ. He's like, my neck, my neck. And then that brings out Stephanie and the cops, saying that they assaulted her old man. I will mention at a certain point here when Vince is talking about Triple H, he's like, my brother-in-law, son-in-law. He's getting old, he's getting up there, just starting to go. So basically, you have a 20-something minute segment here that ends up with Vince being arrested for putting his hands on a police officer. They don't even read the Miranda rights properly, which is kind of messed up. I've seen enough police procedural TV shows to know what the goddamn Miranda rights are, and they fuck that up. Because those, you're supposed to read them exactly the way that they are written every time. That is part of being whatever. It's wrestling. Whatever. Anyway. So that was a 20-minute plus segment, and then you go to this match. You go to Neville versus Kevin Owens, which is over in 30 seconds, which was insane. And then there's a post-match beatdown, which, if that's the direction they're going to go in with Owens of just, being just a destroy your fucking ass like Brock Lesnar, that is a good way to go for Owens. That brings out Ambrose, and they brawl for a little bit, and then that was the end of that segment. So, moves us on to our next match of the night, which actually was a longer match. And I feel like some of these matches were longer because you had the Wyatts in Allentown, you had Paige and Charlotte in Allentown, you had ECW in Allentown, so there was a lot of talent just not on the show. But thankfully Kane was in Allentown, and not... we'll get to Big Show, never mind. Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch, which I feel like they thought, hey, we're back in Brooklyn, we're in the Barclays Center, and last time we were here, we had that very excellent Bayley versus Sasha Banks match for the NXT Women's Championship, and the crowd ate it up. That was the best match on that card. Here's the problem. That match had build, that match told a story, this was a random Raw match, and this crowd, I don't know, perhaps you get more of an, from out-of-town crowd for NXT for that show, for that weekend, because it's just your usual crowd, and they were chanting boring when they were in, doing the rest holds. So, that was unfortunate. Match kind of was whatever, wasn't anything spectacular, and certainly having a good crowd can make or break a match. This one just didn't work. That's unfortunate, because I feel like having longer, as NXT has shown us, having longer Divas matches can work, and it can be done right. Just, do it right. Anyway, Sasha won that match. There was some team bad interference, etc., etc. So, Renee Young down at the precinct. Let's see if Owens wins this one here. Nope. Renee Young down at the precinct trying to do some actual wrestling journalism to find out what's going on with Vince, trying to get a comment. First of all, that didn't look like the front of any police precinct that I've ever seen in my life. Pop-Tart powerbomb. Get the ropes, Neville. Get the ropes, Neville. Anyway. And it looked kind of weird, but, you know, I was still, I don't know. Oh, so the mugshot. They released the mugshot of Vince, like, you know, right afterwards, which is not, like, that's not how police work works. Like, it wouldn't have gone out that fast. But also, what mugshot in the world does not have the little height things, does not have the little number, you hold up a little, like, that looks like no mugshot I've ever seen. Like, you would think they would have planned out Raw far enough ahead of time, they would have been able to produce a proper mugshot. But no, it didn't happen. They always rewrite this shit last minute, so whatever. Anyway, Kofi Kingston versus Kalisto. The New Day came out and said that they would fight your children. The New Day continued to be awesome. And so we're having some singles matches as these teams feud. And Kalisto pulls out the win over the New Day. And that immediately gets Xavier Woods on the microphone because there was some Sin Cara stuff in there. Some interference stuff. And he's like, paybacks are a Big E. You're fighting Big E. And that was fun. And as we had Big E versus Sin Cara, and we had our yet another injury for Sin Cara, who apparently has fucked up his shoulder, taking a bump from the apron to the floor, which looks like he landed on his arm, looked super awkward, and then finished the match. Like, went in and did more flippy shit, which is crazy considering that the previous Sin Cara, not Hunico, but the previous Sin Cara, Mystico, stopped a match because he jammed his finger. He, like, messed up his finger. That was real funny. So, obviously, this Sin Cara, a lot tougher. And, yeah, so, Big E won that match, and most unfortunately. At some point, just cut eye holes for Sin Cara so he can fucking see better. Seriously. Anyway, that moves us on to The Miz TV as your next segment, which was supposed to be a year-end recap. And I like that The Miz's gimmick was that he was supposed to be recapping every single day of 2015. That, you know, reminded me of the Chris Jericho Man of 1,004 Holds. You know, kind of just going over every single hold like that. That's a funny joke, right? But that brings out Ryback for some reason. And then that brings out Goldust for some reason. And that brings out Zack Ryder because they're in Brooklyn? Okay, sure. Then it brings out R-Truth, who apparently, his gimmick now is that he forgets what he's doing all the time, and he forgot that last week was the Slammy, that he won the Slammy. He was on the Slammys twice last week. Forgot that he won a Slammy. And he's like, my bad. Because, you know, it worked so well to make the crowd laugh the last 3 times. We'll just keep doing it. And that's fine. But then that brings out the one-man band, baby. Always good to see Heath Slater on Raw, being awesome. But this whole segment was just there to bring out the Big Show and be like, guess what? Our next pay-per-view is the Royal Rumble. And so, of course, Big Show starts punching guys in the face. I could appreciate Heath Slater getting hit in the face and watching his glasses fly off. That was pretty good. I like R-Truth just dropping to the ground, just hitting himself and dropping to the ground. Is like, did you see it? Did you see it? That was pretty funny. Props to R-Truth on that. But then Big Show is Big Show. The crowd's chanting, please retire, because, you know, it'd be nice. And Big Show apparently gets his words mixed up and is like, I'm going to be number 1 in the Royal Rumble, which nobody ever willingly picks number 1 in the Rumble. That's dumb. And certainly not a guy of Big Show's age and size, whatever. Well, I'm going to beat Rey Mysterio's record for longest, and no, that's not what happened here. Big Show was supposed to say, I am the first man to enter himself into the Royal Rumble. Not, I'm going to be the first man in the Royal Rumble. There's a big, and I think they made a clarification, and on commentary they were a little bit confused about that. But yeah, so Big Show's in the Rumble. The Rumble is, you know, in a couple of weeks here, so got to start that build. But, you know, why else would you fill the ring with mid-card guys outside of, hey, guess what? The Rumble's soon, and he's going to have most of these guys in the match. Or some of them, or something. That should be it for Neville here. No, he kicks out. Wow, this match is going on. Okay, so that in the most channel-changing part of the show, Big Show was going to leave. He was going up the ramp. Okay, he's leaving. Great, fantastic. No. You aren't so lucky, because the next match was Big Show and Ryback. Now, if there's one thing that could make me change the goddamn channel, it's Big Show versus Ryback in 2015, and Big Show takes the count-out loss, and Ryback wins. And who did this help? Nobody. It was terrible. Moving on, Dean Ambrose and the Usos are fighting the League of Nations, which is all the guys minus Del Rio, because he's going to be on the show later. So the crowd here, again, not into it. They're doing the wave. League of Nations starts doing the wave to mock them, and then they, I guess, stopped doing that later on, but like the crowd was getting into that, which was real funny. Most significantly, Wade Barrett was just there to stand on the apron and look pretty, because he didn't do anything, because he can't. Apparently he has some kind of a neck thing. Like, don't put him in a match and then not use him in a match at all, because you can't have him in a match. Like, just do something else. I don't know. And as we keep seeing League of Nations, we're not seeing any Lana. Like, they had her in that thing with them backstage at TLC, where it was all the guys and then Lana, but they've just not been having her on, which is weird, considering, Rusev and Lana. Anyway, League of Nations wins that match, and then again, Owens comes out and just tears the shit out of Ambrose, powerbombs him through the Spanish announce table, and seriously, if this is the direction you're taking Owens, thumbs up. Fantastic. So, out comes the returning John Cena. Guess what, guys? He's back to squash all your favorites. John Cena's back, and I don't understand. Well, first of all, best sign of the night. Most deepest cut, biggest burn sign of the night. That's 3. What? Alright, let's get through the rest of the stuff real fast here. Biggest burn of the night, there was a sign that said, John Cena likes episode 1. That's really funny. So, Del Rio comes out with League of Nations, because Cena's there, and he's like, blah, blah, blah. And when you lose a belt, you have your automatic rematch clause. That is how wrestling works. So why Cena just isn't invoking that rematch clause, I don't understand. But instead, he has to badger Del Rio and call him a pussy and be like, look, fight me, bro, fight me. And then finally, like, why, if he's not invoking a rematch clause, why should Del Rio give a shit? Like, why get goaded into, he's like, I know what you're doing, and then he does it anyway. Wrestling is dumb. Like, just invoke your rematch clause, you have one, whatever. So it makes for the thing. Thank you, Brooklyn, for throwing John Cena's shirt back at him. That was funny. And then the match ends with a disqualification, because obviously you have League of Nations to interfere, and that brings out the Usos, because they start beating up John Cena, so that brings out the Usos, and then that brings out Roman Reigns. Now when the Usos and Reigns come out, John Cena mysteriously disappears. Like, they don't want to have Cena and Reigns interact, I guess. That's interesting. Potentially interesting. And then at the end of it, out comes Vince saying, guess what, pal? You're going to fight Sheamus next week, and I'm the guest referee. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Like, that was the end of that show. Like, what? So, next week we're going to see Roman Reigns, I guess, defending his title against Sheamus with Vince as referee. And I bet you shenanigans will happen. But that was Raw for this week. I think the crowd kind of, they were there, but they were not there in the way you want them to be. And certainly not as good of a crowd as you had at, say, NXT TakeOver and SummerSlam and the Raw afterwards. I'm not really sure if that's kind of more of an international crowd or whatever. So anyway, that was Raw. I'm Attack Slug. Tune in next time and for more videos and whatever else. And I'll see you next time right here on this channel. Let me know what you think. And I'm out.